What you measure, you are then positioned to create. Today on Growing Hope, we set the measurement from where we are to where we want to be so we can build the foundation we need for the balanced life of success we desire.
It's time for Growing Hope, the show determined to grow up hearts open to pursue the extraordinary. Because you are extraordinary! And now, live from a little cabin in the woods, nestled along Big Spring Creek, it's your host, Kathryn Lang.
Hello there, and welcome to Growing Hope, where we are investing just over 20 minutes to have fun, make friends, and find ways to be relentlessly helpful. I am Kathryn Lang, and I am here to cheer you on your journey, because I know you are here cheering me on. I read a story just this morning about a friend that ran a race. She rounded the track, and she watched as the person in front of her crossed the finish lines with arms raised in the air. And she still had a ways to go. It can be tough to keep running when you see others around you finishing the race, when you see them crossing that finish line with their arms raised in triumph, but you still have laps ahead of you. But that's their race, and their race is not your race. And in the case of my friend, her race was different from the race the others were running. So she may have been last in compared to the other runners, but she was still running her race. And so she sprinted across the finish line, and all of her friends were there to cheer her on as she crossed the finish line, just like they would have if she had been first, because she was first. She was first in her race because it was her race to run. And that's the way we have to look at this journey. Too often we get so caught up in comparing our race to the race of others. We get caught up in what other people are doing and what other people are accomplishing. And it's impossible to compare their journey with your journey. Your journey is uniquely you. When you pick up a ruler to measure out your life against anyone else's, then just imagine that you're picking up a stick you're actually going to use to beat up your heart. But that's all you can do. You can't actually measure the difference between their journey and yours, between their successes and yours. They will never compare, ever, because they're not supposed to compare. Your race and his race are not the same race because you are not the same people. And in all honesty, because we're supposed to be honest, you're never going to be running the same race, ever. So let's just cheer each other on. Let's cheer each other on in our unique races, as we should. And let's be honored to have the opportunity to cheer each other on and to be cheered on in the process of winning our race. Running a race is going to require balance. I mean, have you ever tried running without balance? It's not pretty. I've watched folks compete in this relay race, where one person runs to the end of the room and they pick up a bat and they put their head on the bat and the bat on the floor and they spin around and around the bat way too many times. And then they run back to the next person to tag them and let them repeat the process. Or they attempt to run back anyway. See, all that spinning around makes the person dizzy and they lose their balance. And a person trying to run without balance, a person trying to walk without balance, it's painful to watch, and it's usually painful for the person who's trying to do it. I've never participated in the game. I have no interest in participating in it. Just from the description, I knew it was not something I ever wanted to do because I don't voluntarily give up my balance. And yet I do. Too often, it's in my day-to-day living that I give up my balance to people, to other people, to stuff, to circumstances. Just like I looked at that game, I need to learn and practice looking at my life in the same way. Look at my surroundings and evaluate the who, the what, and the why so that I can make the right choice for my balance. We have been talking about the importance of balance and the 8 steps that it's going to take to get there. And this week, we're going to be focusing on that second step for living a balanced life, and it's reviewing your options. You start reviewing your options by learning to look at your position. Where are you? Are you stagnant or are you stuck? Where do you want to be? Do you want to float or do you want to fly? And what can you do where you are now? Reviewing your current position makes it possible to get to that next step and get to where you want to be in this journey. Look, I know there will be more than enough opportunities in my life to be out of balance. I don't need to volunteer to spin myself into a place of out of balance, and neither do you. Life has enough twists and turns without us making our own. It's better to make an investment in choices that will help us find and keep our balance rather than to make the choices that are going to knock us flat. I started attending yoga with a friend a while back. More to spend time with that friend than to actually do yoga, which kind of backfired on me because it turns out they don't really want you chatting during yoga class. Or yoga practice, as I was explained that it's called. It's a good thing it's called yoga practice because I really need yoga practice because yoga's tough and it requires so much balance. So it's the perfect place to practice finding my balance. But even with all the practice in the world, I have learned that there are certain yoga positions that are just not my thing. See, I've learned that hanging upside down for any amount of time, it's not going to help me. When I finally do stand back up, or more likely when I sit back up because, I've lost my balance, so sitting's a better starting position than trying to stand, because if you fall from a sitting position, you don't have as far to fall. So I've learned that when I hang upside down, I'm going to be out of balance. The next class that I took, I had a better understanding of what it meant to practice yoga. Just because the rest of the class did something didn't mean I had to do it, which was extremely difficult for my competitive spirit to accept. See, every person in the class did some things better than others, and some things they were not as good at as others. So we each had to practice in a way that worked for us and for our body. Finding your balance is not about what others are doing. It is about finding what works for you. So first, you have to know where you are. What does your day look like right now? How are you investing your time? I used a time budget to measure how my day is going. Basically, you just write down everything you do and how you're investing your time. You keep a record of it for at least a week or two. The longer, the better. Then you put it into categories and you see how you're actually allocating your time. This will do more to tell you about the truth, the honest truth about where you are than just about anything else you can do. Now, for your free download, you can visit www.yourtimebudget.com. See, time is only a part of knowing where you are, but knowing how you're investing your time will tell you a lot about your current position. The second thing you want to do is decide whether you're stagnant or stuck. Stagnant water has no way to change. Stuck water is just blocked. Only you can decide which you are. The first time I drove the tractor, I was very careful about what I did and didn't do. It was my father-in-law's tractor, and I did not want to upset him. But the second time, I wasn't quite so careful. I was a little more comfortable, and besides, where I was working on the tractor, nobody could see me. Nobody could judge what I was doing. And what he didn't know couldn't hurt me, right? So I went to work. I was knocking down the brush. I was cutting up small trees. I was basically doing all that I could and probably shouldn't have been doing. And at one point, I went over this large, what I thought was where they had pushed the dirt together when they were putting in the power pole. And I went over it, And too late, I realized it was a log, and on the other side of the log was just a bunch of mud, and so I was stuck. I did all I could think of to get unstuck, but I ended up having to go get someone to pull me out, and then I was stagnant. Not by choice, mind you, but by design of my father-in-law, because he wouldn't give me the keys to the tractor after that. Being stuck means you are not where you want to be, and there is a way out. Being stagnant means you are not where you want to be, and there is no way out, or you're not ready to make the choices to get out. So are you stuck, or are you stagnant? The third thing to ask is, what is your perfect day? Think about the actions, the activities that you would want to do day in and day out. Write a paragraph or two describing your day. How does it compare to where you are now? My husband loves the beach until he's tired of the beach, and then it's time to go home. He is too naturally focused on getting things done to spend all of his time at the beach. He wants to be serving, he wants to be helping, he wants to be doing. But if you asked him to tell you about his perfect day, he's probably going to tell you it involves the beach. If he had to share his perfect life, the day in, day out kind of day, then it would be involving helping others in some way. That's the moment you want to describe, the helping people, the investing in people. What is your perfect life-building, life-sharing, always repeating kind of day? The fourth thing to ask is, do you want to float or do you want to fly? See, there is a time and a place for both, and both are perfectly okay. I grew up on Lake Gunnersville, so I spent most of my summers hanging out in the water or by the water or on the water. Some days I wanted to just float on my sailboat, being lazy and enjoying the methodical rhythm of those teeny tiny waves, that just kind of soothed you. But then there was some days I wanted to fly, and I would tie off the sail of my sunfish. The sailboat was a little bitty one-person sailboat, one or two people, depending on the size of the people. And I would stand on the side of the seat, and I would watch because the boat would tilt up on its side, and I'd be riding the water and the wind, and the sail would just barely skim the water. So you may want to float, and you may want to fly. And the choice you make will have a part in the steps you take. And the fifth thing to ask is, how can you move in this moment? What can you do where you are with what you have to begin moving you into where you want to be? When I got grounded from the tractor, I found other ways to get things done. I still had my trusty bush hook, the one that had helped me clear the property in the first place. I also discovered that the local rental store had all sorts of fun tools for me to bring home for the day. It wasn't what I wanted to be doing. I really wanted to be on the tractor, kind of tearing up the fields, but it was what I could do in the moment. What you do depends on where you are. But when you do what you can to do where you are with what you have, then you create opportunities for so much more than you might have ever imagined possible. What can you do right now? Answering these 5 questions may not give you the whole picture, but they will get you moving in the right direction. Defining your current position is the first part of renewing your options. It is not about the end. It is about the beginning. Where are you, and what are you going to do that's going to move you over there? Keep reviewing, keep thinking, keep imagining until you create the step to get there. You have to know your position so you can work in the moment and work towards the moment you desire. You can do what you can do where you are until you have the ability to change where you are and increase your ability to do what you can. In other words, just keep doing what you can do until you get to where you want to be. It is up to you, and you can do it, and you can get there. You just have to go. It's true. What you measure, you are positioned to create, just like we said at the very beginning. When you know where you are, you can create a plan to get to where you want to be. When you don't know, you have no idea how much you really don't know. I think back to our drive on the back roads from Pensacola to Gulf Shores. We didn't know where we were. We were just lost. And all what we really knew was that we were at the end of the road. There were no street lights. The only illumination came from the headlights in the car. But the next day, when the light was, when the sun came out and we could see everything, we went back and we could see that the pavement ended in a really bad place. It was swampy, brackish water. And I realized how bad the situation could have gotten for us. But until I could see our position, I didn't know how bad it was. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's better to know enough to make a decision than to find out everything, or to wait and find out everything to find out the rest of the story. Sometimes it's better to take that step and begin moving in a different direction and then find out what could have been. I mean, we knew enough then when we were at the end of the road that we just backed up. We backed up until we found a place that was designed for someone to turn in and turn around. And it's a good thing we made that choice, because had we tried to turn around on the side of the road, it's very likely that we would have ended up in that brackish water anyway. We knew enough to know which way to go, and so we made a way to get there. And I learned that just because a map shows a road doesn't mean the road goes all the way to your destination. This was a very important lesson for me because, well, in my life, Google lies. So no matter what you're using to get you to your destination, you have to know your position, and then you determine what to do with that position. Defining your position comes down to these questions. Where are you? What has gotten you here? What do you want? How high are you willing to go? And what can you do right now? 5 little questions can help make a big change for your big dream goals, because it starts you down the path to your balanced life. And remember, balance is essential. It's essential for standing, walking, sometimes even for sitting. If you're going to get there, wherever your there is, you have to know where you are, and you have to define where you want to be. But if you will, then you can. It is that simple. So are you ready? You can live your big dream goals one little bit at a time. Learn more about the process by visiting whiteboardofworlddomination.com. I mean, who doesn't want to create their world domination, right? So thank you so much for joining me for today's Growing Hope and investing this time together. Knowing that we are growing into our possibility living together makes me smile. I look forward to hearing your stories of defining position, gaining balance, and living bold in purpose. You can email me at contact@growinghoperadio.com or visit the Growing Hope Radio Facebook page and share over there. Until next time, I am Kathryn Lang, your Rainbows and Lollipops host, because every day holds a promise of more and every action contains the power of possibility. It's not about what the world says or even what the world shows. The strength of hope and encouragement will and does push through the limits and the walls of the world. My prayer is and always will be that the words I share are helping establish a foundation of hope that will shatter the delusions of the world around us. Remember, in all that you're doing, be blessed and be a blessing.
Thank you for joining us for Growing Hope with Kathryn Lang, where we are sharing hope, encouragement, and inspiration to do more. Visit www.kathrynlang.com to invite Kathryn to be part of your event or to share your own stories of possibility living. Until next time, remember that a seed of hope planted and nurtured will grow up into a world of possibilities.